Hey everyone, and welcome back to Coniston Heights. Now before we start, I'd like to address the fact that yes, it has nearly been 2 months since I made a video on our park series, but life gets in the way sometimes. And I'd also like to thank you for the support on my latest videos. Going for a new video style can be a scary thing, but I'm glad that you guys seem to enjoy my more random shenanigans within the game and whatever random editing style I've decided to go for. Oh, and yes, I will be remaking some more blueprints soon, so don't you worry. Anyway, back to the park. Now, I thought for this video we'd go for a bit of a different style. I've seen quite a few comments suggesting a live walkthrough and update style, so I felt that this format might just work better for the series as a whole, rather than some admittedly stale time-lapses. So from now on, unless you guys really hate this and would rather watch a time-lapse, I'll be updating you on my progress with live gameplay, going over the changes and some of the tricks and methods I used to achieve the results. So anyway, we left Coniston in this state. A full log flume layout, lake, and some basic infrastructure ready for a fresh slate of development. And in the time away, I've turned it into this, a fully custom, built, and tracked Mac log flume. Complete with realistic water, details, and infrastructure as best as I could get it, this aims to be the standard for the rest of the park. So let's jump into some live gameplay, and I'll give you a proper tour. So to start this update video, I thought we'd begin at the entrance so I can quickly talk about one thing that I mentioned in my previous episodes, and that is the logo just here. Now, I wanted to say that I was going to change this to a different typeface that I designed for the thumbnails of the videos, but I will be getting around to doing that now that we've finally got billboards in the game. I say that like they weren't out like 2 months ago. Yes, I'm very late to playing this game and doing this park again, but we're getting there. So yeah, just wanted to say that that will be changing. And I thought it might be nice to just look at the entrance again one more time, as it is a very nice little cozy entrance. So we'll walk through the little turnstiles here, back into the plaza here. Not much has changed since the last episode. Yes, I did rebuild all of this after I did lose the file, which was very annoying. I literally just didn't click save, and that's very stupid. I also changed some of the Roman numerals on here because they were inaccurate. And then I haven't done much between these two shops and the pub, but I will be getting around to doing that once I've fleshed out the rest of the park a little bit more, so I know what shops and things we do actually need and how best to fit the vibe of the rest of the park. So they will be coming, but you'll find that I'll do a lot of things in stages where we get the basic infrastructure and things down, and then we go back and add the details a little bit later. Now you might be able to see it peeking through between those two buildings there, but this is the main point of this episode. We now have a pretty much completed log flume built entirely, well not entirely, sort of 50-60% custom built track, infrastructure, guardrails, all the good stuff that you could possibly need for a log flume is completely built for this ride here. It is based on a Mac log flume from the 90s. It's mainly inspired by Silver River Flume in most of its technical details, with some bits taken from the Flume at Towers, which I think was also a Mac log flume. Don't quote me on that, I'm not very good with manufacturers of log flumes because to me they all look the same. I know they don't, but they do to me, so don't crucify me if you're a bit of a log flume person. But yes, we've got a fully custom drop on both aspects, along with a lift hill, and I've been using the terrain water for trough water, but I'll get into that in a little bit. So here we have a nice little stone retaining wall. It's not really a retaining wall, it's more just like a fence that runs the entire length down the path towards where the entrance is going to be in that little plaza area. And we also have these lovely ponderosa pine trees and European ashes here. I did say that, like, I don't know if I'm supposed to be using the right kind of trees, but someone left a very helpful comment that said that most trees that exist have counterparts that exist in the climate that you're trying to make, as long as it's not a palm tree in the Arctic or something. Like, for a temperate, like, biome, this tree or something similar exists if it's not actually a ponderosa pine, so it's not too big of a deal. We've got lovely pond reeds lining the bed of the lake just to make it feel that much more realistic and fleshed out, along with some nice greenery and bushes. You might notice a tiny bit of pop-in with the LODs there, and that's because the scaling sort of messes with the LODs a bit, so you just kind of have to bear with some of the visuals there. And if you can look past that, it genuinely looks gorgeous, I think, in the way it's been set up here. Framing the nice drop against some of these trees and rockwork and stuff. Now, the trough water here, you might notice, is natural water, because when you actually put the terrain water above the trough water, which looks like jelly, you'll see in a bit, it replaces it completely, so that you're left with this really nice realistic water, which really just elevates the game to the point where this could be nearly real life if you took the right angle and squinted slightly, just because of some of like the retaining features that I've built, which look a bit planko-y. But we've got things like cameras and stuff to make sure the ride is safe, because a water ride is an inherently dangerous thing to lots of, well, for hundreds of thousands of people every year that come and visit a park. That's a lot of people that could potentially get into your log flume and have an accident. So the ride itself is covered safety-wise by loads of different cameras, because I'm not sure I'm going to have a bunch of spotters sitting around the layout, but I might have a couple, like maybe 1 or 2 stations just for added safety or whatever, maybe up by the tunnel feature, which is in the distance, which I'll show you in a minute. But they're not really cameras, they're cameras in big quotation marks. They haven't actually got any like lenses. The one downside to TMTK is those tiny little details we just can't do yet. But hey, I'm not ruling out TMTK being a possibility, because I feel like Frontier have got it in them. They saw how well it did in the first Planko. I feel like they're going to do it again for 2 when the game's life cycle's over, which will be amazing because we can get some really hyper-realistic 3D models in there eventually, and that's enough waffle on that. I need to just stop myself talking sometimes, but if we walk down to this little pathway here, we're going to have a plaza area with the entrance running this direction along with the exit, and a little gift shop and things to carry the photos, as that camera unit is pointing at the main drop there. Here's another use of the terrain water in the trough, and when you get it at this angle here where it lines up with the actual angle, that just looks like real water. That looks like a real log flume right there, and it just adds that lovely bit of elevation just to the detail there. But I'm thinking for the entrance here, we're going to have a queue line which sort of snakes over in that direction, but then goes on a sort of wooden enclosed bridge over these 2 sections of the log flume, so we can get some guest interaction. Also adds a nice little bit of detail. Everything that feels low down in a log flume, nice head chopper effect and things. I love that effect on a log flume, and this is sort of inspired by one I used to ride when I was a kid in Gulliver's World Warrington, which is not too far from where I am from. It has a log flume very similar in theme to this, a lot smaller obviously, but the drop is enclosed by a sort of shack at the top. I'm maybe debating doing that as well, but I kind of like the full exposed drop at the top, so I'm not too sure. But that log flume has thick vegetation either side of its first section just here, so I'm going to take some inspiration from that. And the station itself is obviously built to look like sort of a Tudory house. It's just a really nice looking log flume, and I'm going to take a bunch of inspiration from it to flesh out the design of this ride. And I also think a nice elevated bridge will look really good in that setting too. So that about sums up what I can show you in Tegid Cam anyway, apart from maybe some nice angles. Like this is sort of the vibe of the park I want to go for, nice thick vegetation, retaining stone walls, and everything that feels nice and realistic to how it should be in real life. Now if I hop out of Tegid Cam here, hide my UI because that is ugly, and we'll just have a bit of an overview of the entire section that I've completed. You might think that this doesn't look like too much, but this is the entire infrastructure of the log flume completely done, with maybe just a few more technical bits, which I will go back and resolve, because I'm probably going to speak to people who know a hell of a lot more about log flumes than I do, to get the maintenance and the mechanical aspects of it completely perfect, because I want this to be the standard of the park going forward with this level of detail. I don't build log flumes, but I want to make sure the one log flume that I did build looks real. So we've got lovely details like these sort of conveyor belt entrances here with the grids and things. We've got realistic custom splashdown zones with, I've even put like a little wall here so it bounces some of the water off. And obviously you've got the grids here to catch the wave, which might take any debris into the natural lake. And we've got a nice little retaining stone wall, which will have some vegetation and stuff to kind of separate these 2 areas because they are very close. But also, I've gone for a bit of Tatuki Splash inspiration. Any person on the log in this corner is going to get a little bit soaked by the people who are hitting this bit, as they might launch a little bit of water over. So a nice little bit of guest interaction there. So having a look at what I've done as well, we've got full custom lift hills. So this is made of the tropical wall decoration piece for the conveyor. The actual drive belts, or the little like rollers, are made from the wooden support beams, and then the little ones inside of it, along with the I-beam supports just acting as the little guides for it as well. The main trough itself is made from the canopy pieces, which are absolute lifesavers. Lovely plastic metallic texture, just on literally a thin square that can be scaled. I use them a lot for catwalks as well, but I've started going for more the tropical one because it's less shiny. But yes, I've been using lots of different pieces to create what I would think is the most realistic log flume in Planko at the moment. Could be wrong about that. Someone might be making a one-to-one recreation of Dudley Do Right Ripsaw Falls, or whatever it's called at Universal at the moment, so don't quote me on that. But to my knowledge, this is currently Planko's most realistic log flume because it's probably the most custom one. Yes, with mods, because I am using LSMs for the drop and the lift and stuff to get them invisible, but hey, you can do most of this in vanilla Planker, you just won't have the lovely conveyors and drop, because I really wanted that lovely drop profile that isn't tiny, because there's only one size. I don't know why they wouldn't make it bigger. But moving on to this other section here, after the little drop here from the first one, you have a little raised splashdown section, and then a raised section through the woods, which is sort of inspired by the FLUME at Alton Towers. What a great ride that was, if any of you have ever been on that when it was still there, back in like 2015. Fantastic log flume. The duck was terrifying, real ones will know that. But yeah, this is where you can see sort of the jelly water texture, but you can't do much about it, so he'll have to do. But you've got a nice little raised section which runs into sort of a shed tunnel. A little bit of interest, a little bit of darkness. I just love the lighting in this game, to be honest. It makes it look just so unbelievably good. You run through here with little PBR metallic walls up to the final lift hill, and you get this final big drop into the end of the ride. But you also get the vista of the English area as a whole, some of the car park, and you'll probably get whatever area is kicking off to the top left here, as well as a nice sort of overview of what you've seen and what you're going to see. Because if you do this as your first ride, you're going to then see some of the rest of the park, and you're probably also going to get, no doubt, by the time we finish this park, some little views of maybe like there might be like a B&M coaster over here, there'll be like a drop tower in the distance like over here, maybe when you're on the lake you might catch a glimpse of a coaster or a ride that's also utilising part of the lake. I haven't decided if I'm going to do that yet. I might do. But yeah, it's all about just creating those interactions for a more realistic experience and also a more immersive experience, because I think this is going to look very cool for, like, if you have some guests stood here. If we get vista points back, oh my god, I'm going to set one up right here so that people can have a look and stand here for this, because I think this is the main view of the log flume personally, and I think it looks really nice so far. But yes, that is currently where we're up to with Coniston Heights. Again, I'd like to apologise for the lack of updates on this series. No, I haven't forgotten about it. It is still being constantly worked on and tweaked in the background, even if I'm just making slow progress on it. It is still under wraps, and I'm really enjoying it because we're properly starting to get into it now with our first nearly fully completed ride. Next episode, I'm going to be looking at finishing the rest of the log flumes, the queue line, the vegetation, the infrastructure and stuff. Most of this will most likely change the vegetation as we build the park up, but for now, this is the start point of how much vegetation I kind of want around that section of the ride. Things might change here and there, but for now, this is just the basis of where we're starting. So, yep, I'll be getting this finished, then we'll move on to finishing this section over here between the backs of the buildings and the log flume, and then we'll move on to finishing the plaza area and getting the first other area done, because I have... It won't necessarily be in this area, but I've already outlined a coaster type that I very much want to include. You can almost probably guess it, we're going to have an old Intamin hydraulic launch coaster in there, because I really want to build a crappy old Intamin like Rita. Not that we have a height limit, I just want to build one because I'd like to imagine this part went to Intamin in like 2008 and went, can we have one of those? And then they went, no, but we'll make you something similar. And then it's like, cool. Because I want to build one with like hydraulic launch fins and stuff that lower, and we have sound effects and things, and it just sounds amazing. So that's definitely going to be coming in future updates, but I don't know what we're going to do first. Again, suggestions for names and things of the log flume, of the area, of like the pub or whatever, feel free to chuck them in the comment section and I will have a gander and we'll see if any of them work. Again, just keep in mind for the log flume, generic-y themed, not a story behind it. It is sort of, it is what it is, if it helps. Like, it is, we could call it like Tudor Falls or like Anglo Falls, Saxon Falls or something like that. I don't know, Cheshire Falls might be funny because it's kind of inspired by Chester. That's quite a funny name. I might, we might come back to that. That could be funny. So anyway, this is where we're up to with Coniston at the moment. Again, thank you very much for the support on the recent videos. Trying a new style and editing and things was kind of scary, but I'm glad that it's gone down well with you guys. And yes, I will be doing more blueprint videos because that was genuinely one of the most fun videos I've ever worked on, and I'm really happy that you guys received it well. And obviously with Inferno 2.0, I will be doing probably some more sort of remasters of coasters I used to build, mainly with ones that come out with new updates. So like I might go back to building some other things now that we actually have the coaster types for them, but for now I'm just going to start building and see where it takes us. But for now, thank you very much for watching this episode of Coniston Heights. Stay tuned for more, and I will see you all next time.